Although alpacas are native to places like Peru and Bolivia, I found that many are farming them in the U.S. I visited some alpaca farms in Wisconsin and even attended the annual Wisconsin Alpaca and Fiber Fest to find out what alpaca farming in the Midwest is all about. My first stop was Oak Lawn Alpacas, located in Iron Ridge and owned by Don and Connie Payne, who have been raising alpacas since 2005.
Well, when we first started off with alpacas, we were going to start off at 3, and we bought 3, and then 6 months later we bought 8 more. And so within our first year we had 13 alpacas. And today we've got 29. They've had a natural intrigue to both my wife and I. That they're easy to handle. We love their personalities. You know, we love the ability to be able to handle them the way we do. It's not like having beef cows or dairy cows where I had to constantly go out and worry about fixing fences because they broke a fence down. You know, so they're so much easier to take care of. They're easy on the land. I mean, they're really a green animal because their feet are so soft. They don't tear the landscape up.
For 14 years, alpacas were being imported to the U.S. by ship or plane and were issued a pedigree registration by Alpaca Registry Incorporated, or the ARI. The ARI Pedigree Registry was closed by U.S. breeders in 1998.
All of the imports now to the U.S. have been closed. So if you want to start alpacas in the U.S., they have to come from U.S. or from Canada. We looked locally and purchased most of ours within the local area. Some of our very first 3 or 4. But from there, we bought a herd out of Michigan. Here in the Midwest, we're very fortunate that we have climates the way we do. Actually, alpacas really like the cold. If it's not windy out, they'll lay outside here. I mean, you can come out here in the morning and they're covered in snow because they'd rather lay outside than lay inside, providing it's not windy. But there are people in Arizona, Texas, Florida raising alpacas as well, where it's very humid, very warm. What that requires then is a lot of fans. People run a lot of fans on their alpacas when they get very warm like that. Alpacas love to play in water. They love to get their legs soaked, their belly soaked. And so when it's really warm and hot like that, a lot of people run misters where they can cool themselves in misters. They don't like wind and they don't like rain.
I wondered why people were interested in raising alpacas and what are the benefits. Are they pets, livestock, show animals?
Many people have alpacas as pets. Fiber herds where they're just raising the animals for fiber. You know, we do both. Some of the animals we sell are both for breeding, high quality breeding stock, as well as pet animals. We sell alpacas to a lot of 4-H youngsters that are looking for animals to raise and show. So it's a good animal for youngsters to get into from the 4-H project as well. We raise Wokayas. Wokayas are, everybody calls them teddy bears because they're the fuzzy, fluffy type of alpaca. Their fiber typically gets about 4 to 5 inches long, 3.5 to 5 inches long. Surreys, on the other hand, are known as having dreadlocks. People say, well, a Surrey has dreadlocks, and their fiber can get out to 11 inches long. And many people will mix the fiber when making clothing, things like that, just to give a different consistency. But both of them are very, very soft and very, very fine. Quality-wise, the finer the micron, the better the fiber. And the reason we say that is most of the alpaca fiber is naturally hypoallergenic. It doesn't burn. It's waterproof. So a lot of the finer fibers are used in clothing that are next to the skin. You don't get the prickly sensation like you do with coarser fiber or wool, because when we're breeding, we're trying to keep the secondary and the primary fibers as close together in micron count as possible. That gives you the better feel. And so our goal here on our farm is to keep our fiber microns under 22, because that's our prime fiber and that's where we can get paid the most money for our fiber. We belong to a couple different co-ops where we sell the fiber to the co-ops, and we can buy product back, whether it's in socks or other goods that we can resell. A lot of our prime alpaca fiber we make into yarn, and we sell yarn on our website and through other websites. We sell in, we have some stores that we partner with that we sell the yarn in their stores as well.
Don Payne is also president of the Wisconsin Alpaca and Fiber Fest, which was held for its 4th year in West Bend, Wisconsin. The festival is a free family event where sponsors bring a few of their alpacas to show, and there are also vendors showing off their spinning and knitting techniques, as well as selling their alpaca fiber products. I found everything from yarn and scarves to intricate sweaters. I also met Georgia Meyer, who told me about her farm and store.
These socks are made in Wisconsin, and Wigwam and Sheboygan makes them for me. First thing I have to do is we shear the animals, and then I sort the animals by the grade. And my socks have grade 3 and 4 in there, so it's consistent within the fiber of the grade for my sock, because I want high quality socks that are made with high quality fiber. So what I do is I sort it, and I sort it in and I grade it, and then it goes to be made into cone yarn, and then it goes to make into the socks. So last year I did 657 animals, but who's counting? And this year I'm hoping to do a little bit more to grow the line of fiber in the socks. So I got to show you because they're my 4 little kittens. These are my line of socks, and this year is a gray and the brown. And then I have the black and the tan. So it'll be my 3rd year working with the alpaca tundra socks, and hopefully we'll grow a little bit more with the business.
It was fascinating to see the many projects that people could make from alpaca fiber. I stopped by a booth that was felting material and watched as they demonstrated the process. She started with a pre-felted square and spread random pieces of dyed alpaca fiber. It then goes through this machine that has rollers and 500 needles, which press into the fabric. The more you run it through, the more the colors get pushed down. So, what needs to happen in order to get this beautiful soft fleece off of the alpaca? Once a year, alpacas get sheared. Some farms choose to do it themselves, while others hire professionals to come to their farm and do the work for them. Behind the scenes at the Alpaca Festival, sponsors had the opportunity to get their alpacas sheared on site. This is Cooper, looking fluffy before his annual shear. He's been through it before, so he knows what to expect.
Shearing is removing the fleece from the alpaca. There's different methods. Some people will shear with the alpaca standing up on a shearing table. We and many other farms lay them down on their sides and shear them. And all we do is we're removing all the main blanket is from the shoulder to the hips. That's the prime blanket, and that's the best fiber.
Noodling the fleece is the best way to collect fiber, especially if it will be sent out for processing. This method keeps the fleece organized and helps to prevent contaminating the good parts of the fleece with the bad. The processor can neatly unfold the blanket of fleece and tell which part is from the neck and which is from the waist.
Next is the fiber on the neck. That's what we call seconds. And then off the legs is thirds. Midwest, most of us shear starting mid-April and usually by the 1st of June. By the time it gets too hot, we want to make sure that fleece is off. And so they cool better, and from the quality of fleece really doesn't make any difference, other than from a length standpoint, we want to make sure that we're maximizing the length.
Even those who choose to have alpacas as pets need to shear them. Because of their exceptionally warm fleece, alpacas can easily overheat in the summer. Sometimes an alpaca's fleece doesn't turn out to be as good as the breeder had hoped, and keeping the fleece to clean themselves is an option, especially if they like to work with the fiber and make it into product. The second farm I visited was Greenbrier Farm, located in Waukesha, where I met Marjorie and Michael Morak. Marjorie was kind enough to take me step by step through her fleecing process and even showed me her spinning wheel.
I'll be demonstrating the fleecing process, and the first thing that we do is skirting. And what you're doing is you're preparing the fleece for use in the commercial market or in products that you want to make. So this is a fleece that just came off the animal. This is the blanket, so this would be the portion that's around the body. And what you want to do is remove all the vegetable matter that it has accumulated over the course of the year from being on the farm. So what you do is you go through and pick out those pieces that are different. So I will go and take this out. In addition, you need to remove the vegetable matter. So go through and just remove the large pieces, because when you wash them, you want a good clean fleece when you're done. What I demonstrated before, you need to do before you send it to any processor. From this point forward, this is what the home user can do. You can either send it out in order to get the washing and the carding process completed, or you can do it yourself, and it's fairly easy. So once the fleece has been skirted, I use garment bags, and I will put the fleece in the garment bags. You do want to fill it full. Then it's a washing process. You use a little bit of soap, and just note that you do not want to felt it. And it is fairly easy to do. So pick a soap that you like the scent, put a little bit in your water. Hot water works best. And what I do in order to remove the farm from the fleece, just want to press it gently with your hands. You do want to use very hot water. And what I will normally do is wash it twice and rinse it 3 times. So this is just a demonstration of the process. Again, all you're doing is washing it for the next portion of the process. So once you have washed this twice, move it into, again, hot water and rinse it. Rinse it 3 times in 3 separate baths of water. That last one, put a little bit of vinegar in it, and it will remove any residue of soap that remains on the fleece. So once this has been completed, you do get out as much water as you can. And now you just have to let the air do its work. And what you'll do is you'll put it on drying racks. And I'm just demonstrating the drying process on the fleece rack that we were using before. You'll notice that it's very wet, and you want to unclump it as much as possible. Okay, now we have a bag of already dried fleece, and you'll notice that after you go through and pull it apart, you've got fleece going in every direction. In order to get and make some good quality yarn, all of the fibers need to be facing one direction. So what you can use is a drum carder, which is what I have here. And you feed the drum carder, and what the drum carder will do is it will grab the fleece and then put all of those individual fibers and force them in the same direction on the drum. And what I have here, it's a double carder, and it really does a nice job to align the fleece appropriately. So we have gone through, we have a full drum, and it's time to remove it. And if you'll notice, all this fleece is now pointing in the same direction. It's all going in one direction, which will make it much easier to feed the wheel. And the final process is spinning your rovings into yarn. And from a spinner's perspective, this is where the creativity really starts. So you can blend colors, you can spin heavy, you can spin light, and it's just a matter of keeping the momentum going to feed your wheel the way that you want to. I'm feeding it heavy, fine, and it's just taking it. And what you do is I'm spinning a single strand. And when you have a finished product, you will actually have to ply the single strands into 2, 3, 4, 5, depending upon what you want to produce as a final product. But this is what I do for relaxation, because it takes both feet and both hands, and they have to work in concert.
If you're able to make your feet and hands move in harmony, you can produce some really neat yarn. After being mesmerized by Marjorie's talent, I had to take a seat and try it out myself. Let me just say, she makes it look easy.
And after you've produced your yarn, what do you do with it? Well, you can knit, crochet, do with this yarn what you do with any other yarn. And the good news is there's always a use for every piece of the fleece. Down to the ends that we took off of the carter, make those into dryer balls so that every part of the fleece is usable. It's up to your imagination to depend upon what you want to do with it.
As a knitter, I was very intrigued by the capability of being able to spin your own yarn right at home, and then immediately make it into product. I also loved seeing all of the different types of yarn that Marjorie made by mixing fibers. Among all of the action happening at the festival, alpacas were being judged by the quality of their fleece as well as their halter walks. Amanda Vandenbosch travels around the world judging alpacas, and she was this year's guest judge at the Wisconsin Festival. The fleeces are scored based upon fineness, uniformity of micron, length, and color. The Wakaya and Suri fleece shows are judged separately, beginning with grays, moving on to blacks, and finally whites.
Typically in both Suris and Wakayas there are what we call 22 natural colors. And they're variations of shades starting, at white and then beige and light fawns and different shades of browns, different shades of blacks. And then we get into the grays, rose grays, classic grays, dark grays, and so that's why we always say there's 22 color of alpaca fiber.
Although alpacas are mainly raised for their silky fleece, meat is a unique byproduct from the alpaca livestock industry.
Alpaca meat is very good. It's very nutritious. It's not like red meat. It has a lot of omega-3s. It's very low fat, and it's a very healthy meat. That's why the Peruvians eat the meat, because it's their main staple.
We started harvesting animals about 6 years ago, and we do some local restaurants, gourmet restaurants serve it, and we also have some products that we've made, jerky, meat sticks, and sausage. We're out and we're always in the public. We always did harvesting alpacas out in the open. Years ago it wasn't spoken of that people were doing it, but we decided it needed to happen. We follow the livestock model, and we really need people to understand they're very cute animals, they can be friendly animals, but we look at the whole picture of the alpaca just like they do in other countries. So the scope is the full livestock experience and using the whole animal, just like beef and sheep and everybody else out there. It's very important, and breeders are opening up to it, and it's becoming more accepted, and it's all part of farming. And with the advantage of we know exactly when in these animals, we know what they ate, so even though we're not organic to speak of, it was from our farm, we know what they ingested and have tight controls on that too. So.
Rob hopes people will open up to the idea. He ensured that alpacas will mainly be raised for their fiber and will not be overfed for the end result of meat. Alpacas are constantly being confused with llamas. There are many differences between them, the main ones being fineness of fiber and their size.
A llama is about 2.5 times the size of an alpaca. They're big, they can go about 400 pounds. They were actually bred to be a pack animal and used down in South America. And where an alpaca was bred to be used for clothing, for meat, only going 150, 160 pounds are so easy to take care of. You have to trim their feet once in a while. We have to give them shots for worming and things like that. But overall, they are a very, very easy animal to take care of. Alpacas are like people. They all have different personalities. They all have their different quirks. They all have their different demeanors. Some are friendly. Some are very standoffish. And to each other, you know, some alpacas, you know, it's just like people. They'll buddy up with each other. And you know, we've got 2 girls here. Ever since they were born, they are almost inseparable. They're always laying next to each other at night. Whenever they're out in the pasture, they're always together. And you know, so that's, you know, there's from a herd animal standpoint, it's very interesting to watch how they interact with each other. Some just don't like each other, and you know, they will avoid each other or they will spit at each other and get in fights over food or hay or whatever it may be. We keep the females and the males apart strictly from a reproducing standpoint. You know, an alpaca gestation is about 11 to 11 and a half months. And if we left them all in with the males, we'd have all kinds of alpacas running around, which we don't necessarily want. So, in the pasture behind us, we have our younger alpacas that are just a year old, or going to be 2 years old. And then the pasture we have out to our right out here is all of our pregnant girls for the year. And so they're all together, and we do a lot of that just so we can feed different from one pen to the other. Our pregnant girls, we feed different than we do some of our other girls, and we do that from a fiber quality standpoint. We don't want to get them too overweight, which coarsens the fiber. We breed here to start birthing about the 1st of May, and we'll birth up through September 1st.
Alpaca farming turned out to be a lot more popular than I had expected. There are many resources for anyone interested in raising alpacas. The prices depend on your intended purpose. If you want a pet, I found some as low as $200, while a female who will produce fiber and offspring can cost up to $30,000. After speaking with Don Payne, Marjorie and Mike Morak, and many others raising alpacas, I could tell they have a genuine love for what they're doing.
They're different, and they're just a pleasure to have.